All right, so we are going to find 1/8 of 2.5, 1/8 times 2.5. We're going to shade 2.5 because we're going to be finding 1/8 of one whole, 1/8 of our second whole, and then 1/8 of the half. Okay, so we're going to shade 2.5 first. We shaded one whole, and we're going to shade our second whole. So we have two holes shaded, and then we need to shade a half on the last hole. So there we have 2.5. And we're going to find what is 1/8 of 2.5. So meaning we need to find 1/8 of this hole, 1/8 of this hole, and 1/8 of this. So once I have my 2.5, what am I going to do, guys, to find 1/8? I need to split each of those holes into how many pieces, Caitlin? We're going to split them all into 8 pieces. Then we're just going to look at what is one of those. In order for me to make 8 pieces out of each one, how many lines will I need to draw? 7. Very good. So they've already kind of done that for you with the dotted lines here. So we're going to make 7 lines. That's going to make 8 equal pieces. Okay. So that's for our first hole. We're going to do it for all of them. Okay. And on the last. All right. So we have made 8ths out of each of our holes and our half. So now we need to think, what is 1/8 of one hole? Well, if we split these into, we have 8 columns. Okay. If we're trying to find what is 1/8. So how many am I going to shade? How many columns will I shade in my other color? 1, right? We're just finding 1 out of 8. So if there are 8 columns, I'm just going to shade one of them. So that's why all of those have the diagonal lines going that way. That's kind of like them coloring green. Then notice that they have other lines going this way. That's where I'm coloring orange. Focus. Hold on. So we found 1/8 of one hole. Now we need to find 1/8 of the other hole, the second hole. Good. So I'm going to shade in 1. So 1 out of 8 of my columns. Okay. And then what am I going to do to my last one down here? Going to go ahead and shade 1. Okay, but notice I've got 1/8 of each of these. But I need to see like what size are all of these pieces? So look at one hole and think, what would one of these little rectangles be? What size is this piece? Very good, 1/16. We've got 8 and 8. Okay, so that means there's 16 pieces. So one of these is 1/16. So 1/8 of one whole would be what? How many pieces? 2. Very good. 2/16. So 1/16 and 2/16. That's 1/8 of one whole. Let's see how many more 16ths. So we've got 1/16, 2/16. Count with me. 3/16, 4/16, 5/16. Do we count this one? No, because this is a half that really isn't there. We've got our 2 holes and a half. So 2/16 is 1/8 of one hole. Another 2/16 is 1/8 of the second hole. And then we've got 1/16 here. That's 1/8 of the half. So altogether we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. So that should be our answer, but we're going to go ahead and check. Our answer should be 5/16. Now let's go ahead and check. We said our 2 holes, if we were to switch our 2.5, okay, and figure out how many halves is that? Well, how many halves is in one hole? Yeah, you've got 2 in one hole. Okay, how many in the second hole? 2 more halves. So how many halves do we have right now? 4, and then we have how many more? Yeah, 1 more. So we've got 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. And yes, we know our quick way we can do that is by doing 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, there's our 4 halves. And then plus our 1 more half down here, which makes 5 halves. So if we had changed our 2.5 to 5 halves, now we can multiply straight across. What's 1 times 5, everybody? Good. And then what's 8 times 2? 16. So did we get 5/16 as our answer? Yes, we did. Very good. So what we're going to do for the next one is we are supposed to draw the rectangle. Okay, they did not give us that part. to kind of help us get started there, but now we're going to draw our own. So look at 2 2/3 times 1/5. What is the math problem you should be thinking in your head? Reagan?
2 2 of 10.
So it's actually, I know we kind of got those flipped around. It's actually 1/5 of 2 2/3. Okay, so we're going to try and find what is 1/5 of 2 2/3. Okay, so we're going to draw 2 2/3. Then we're going to split it into fifths and find out what is 1/5 of each of those. So how many holes are we going to need, guys?
2.
Only 2 holes? Ah, 3 holes. Good, because we have 2 holes and then we've got part of another. So as much as you can, make them the same size. We've got 2 holes. All right, and then we've got 3 holes. So what am I going to split each of these into? Thirds. I'm going to make mine go horizontally because we're going to do our vertical lines to make the fifths. So if I'm making thirds, how many lines do I need to draw? 2. So I'm going to go horizontally here and make 2 lines, which will give me 3 equal pieces. And we're going to do that for all of them. All right, let's first go ahead and shade 2 2/3. So I'm going to use my first color and I'm going to shade in 2 holes. So what am I going to shade on the first one?
Okay.
Yep, all 3, right? Okay, there's 1 hole. What do I need to shade on the second? Another hole. Okay, and then what do I need to shade on the third?
1.
How many total pieces?
1.
2/3. So we're going to shade 2 out of the 3. So that is representing my 2 2/3. By the way, how many thirds is that? How many thirds are in the 1 hole? 3 thirds. How many how many thirds are in this one? 3 thirds. So that's 6 thirds. And then how many more do we have? 2 more thirds. So what's 3 thirds plus 3 thirds plus 2 thirds? Very good. That represents 8 thirds. So 2 2/3 is the same thing as 8 thirds. But we're going to find out what is 1/5 of that, meaning we got to find a fifth and a fifth of this part. If I'm trying to make fifths, how many lines will I draw?
4.
Very good. 4 lines. So we're going to do 4 vertical lines on each of these. And that will give me the fifths in the other direction. 4 lines on each. All right. So using my other color, I've got my orange. Now that I have 5 columns, how many columns shade?
1.
Yeah, we're going to shade 1 out of 5 columns. So I'm going to shade 1 column. Okay, how about my next one? 1 column. How about my last one? 1 column. So let's look at what size pieces we have now. Like, what is each of these little tiny squares? What do any of these squares represent?
20. Wait.
So we got a 3 by 5. So each one is 1/15. Each little square represents 1/15. Okay. Well, here's the 1/5 of 1 whole. How many 15ths do I have that are 1/5 of this whole?
3.
Yeah, 3. So we've got 3 15ths plus how many more here? Another 3 15ths. So what's 3 15ths plus 3 15ths? That's 6 15ths. How many more do I have here? 2. We don't count that last one because remember we only had 2/3. We did not have this 3/3. So even though it's orange there, we're looking where the colors overlap. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 what? 8 15ths. So our answer should be 8 15ths. Okay, but let's go ahead and check our math. So 2 2/3 we said was how many thirds? Yeah, it was really 8 thirds, right? So let's check. 8 times 1 is, and 3 times 5 is 15. So we can agree with our picture that there are 8 15ths here that we have shaded. All right, nice job, guys.